bridge, yeah. Live gratitude and love, dancing with the drum, all this makes my heart beat. Cause we're all about solutions, human resolutions, gotta bridge, yeah. Live gratitude and love, dancing with the drum, all this makes my heart beat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Highlights.
Hello.
I am your Mermaidmama Maggie, and boy, do we have a treat for you today. We have an amazing lineup of amazing political TikTokers, and without further ado, let me introduce them. We're going to start out with Indy P. Jones, 46.
Man, you made me go first.
I did.
Thanks, Mermags. So yes, I'm Indy P. Jones, 46. I am from Kentucky, and I do a lot of what the fuck news, and I point at stuff over my head, not near as good as Sadia points, but I point just like this right over my head, and we talk about all kinds of good stuff. So it's good to see everybody.
And thank you for coming. I love you so much. Next, we have Sadia M.
I wasn't ready either, Indy. That's who it was.
Keeping you on your toes, guys.
Sorry. Yes, now we're ready. My name is Sadia, and my username is Sadia ____ M, and I am from Houston, Texas. And just like Indy, I point at things, maybe not as graciously as she does, and make political TikToks and commentary.
You're awesome. I love your guys' content. And next we have Abe. Won't Be Silent. I adore your content, as does everybody.
I'm Abe. My handle is Won't Be Silent, which pretty much wraps up who I am. I just read the news, kind of something flips me out, and then I just go, and that's how I found an audience, by just kind of flipping out about what's happening in this particular world. So that's me.
Well, we certainly have a lot of things to flip out about these days. Next, we have Dave D. Comedy.
I'm Dave D. Comedy, which is my name on TikTok, and I'm not sure why I'm here because mostly I do twerking videos, and I've gotten really good at it. I can do the whole hold the can of beer between my butt cheeks like that. That took a long time.
Wow.
I mean, you have the squats I had to put in for that one. It really, I mean, Jesus, I can turn a nickel into a dime. It's amazing. But I make shitty jokes. That's what I do. I make shitty jokes, and most of my material. I'm a stand-up comic in real life, like a legit stand-up comic and actor. Although I've been on hiatus because of COVID. So this was my outlet, and given the political wins over the last 4 years, I've had a lot of material to work with. So.
Awesome. You also have coined your own specific laugh.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Can we get a little demonstration?
I have no idea what I don't. That is.
Come on, you know.
It's all staged.
Okay. Maybe later we get to laugh.
There you go.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. All right. And next we have Food X Bert.
Wow, I was waiting for that laugh right there. Yeah, so my name is Food X Bert. I come from California, but I travel the world right now. I'm in Albania, and I'm going to be traveling the Balkans region. If you don't know where the Balkans is, you probably are one of those Trumpers that never left America before. The Balkans is a region of, the Mediterranean, and it's the mountains, and it's like, it's this Southeast Europe area. So that's where the Balkans is. And
isn't
so
that also like right after you pass go on the Monopoly board?
That's
I'm sorry.
That's called something else. I forget.
Sorry.
I haven't played Monopoly in a long time, but I do have a Monopoly game downstairs that is in this guest house. But anyway, so I just travel the world trying crazy foods and taking you guys along with me along the journey. And so that's what my channel does. I've got 3 channels, though. I got a political channel and a kind of a travel channel, and then also a channel where I sample crazy drinks from around the world, which is pretty fun too. So that's my stuff.
Awesome.
Anyways,
Well, thank you guys all for being here. I think we have a little bit to discuss this week. I think a few things might have happened in the
Kim and
political
Kanye
world.
are getting divorced.
I heard that. Is that actually a thing? Is that real?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I have no idea.
All right,
I
forget
didn't see that
politics.
coming.
We need to get into Kim and Kanye.
look. I warned you. I make shitty jokes. This is what I've done for years. This is what you get from me when I'm live. I just stream of conscious. Whatever comes to my, I have no filter, so whatever hits the frontal lobe is coming straight out my mouth. So
Hey, I appreciate it. I actually have not dove into the Kim and Kanye world all week, so it's
I
good
hate
for me
both
to know.
of them. I hate both of them with a passion. I can't even tell you.
So
Oh.
last week, you guys, we had a historic insurrection in our country. I don't think any of us are going to forget it anytime soon, but I have a clip right now that kind of is going to take us back, and then I want to talk about it. So here we go.
Last week we saw one of the darkest days in American history, and for better or worse, I was there. It was a day that began with the president holding a rally outside of the White House to push lies about voter fraud and urge his followers to take action to overturn the election.
Excuse me, is the sedition happening over here? Is the sedition, is it over here?
No doubt. Say it ain't so.
Do you know where the sedition is?
Stop this deal! Stop this deal!
We do not consent to be governed.
Nor shall we ever be consented to be governed by an illegal, fraudulent election.
But you elected a guy who also doesn't care much about consent.
We do not consent.
Will you accept Joe Biden as President of the United States on the 20th?
No, I will not accept the narrative. No, I will not. So look, I've educated myself about this, okay? I don't know all what's in the Constitution.
Have you read it? It's pretty short.
The Constitution of America?
Yeah.
I've not read the whole thing, no. You've read the entire thing?
Yes, it's remarkably short.
All right. I doubt that, but it's okay.
You should read it, because you might be committing a seditious act in an hour and a half.
Okay, I'm not going to comment about that.
The one thing you couldn't help but notice was just how many people looked like they were preparing for battle. From the tactical vests to the pitchforks, this rally felt charged.
You can tell these people really love America by the number of weapons they brought to hurt other Americans. Looks like we got some Proud Boy action. Either that or the Cabela's street team. What's your flag say?
Come and take it.
Come and take it. Do you have a weapon?
No.
No? Why not? Did they take it? Sorry, bro.
And for those supposedly caught off guard, claiming they didn't see this violence coming, if you paid attention to any of these rallies, all you have to do is open your eyes and ears. The message isn't exactly subtle.
Make no mistake, we have the guns, and we are now in the streets. We are gonna clean this place out, one way or another. You look down there, I have 1 million plus people angry. Very, very angry people.
Can I ask why you're carrying a pitchfork?
Well, a pitchfork is it's just an iconic representation of what people over time have done in this country.
It feels more like a weapon, to be quite honest.
No, it's not. It's farm equipment, and it's legal in this city.
Yeah, are you farming today?
It's an icon. It's a representation. We're not asking for violence right now.
I gotta tell you, from the movies I've seen, the hordes of people with pitchforks are usually the bad guys.
This thing was a powder keg. All it took was someone to light the fuse, like these human blowtorches.
Let's have trial by combat.
Stand up and fight. Stand up and hold your representatives accountable.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength.
With those orders, the crowd of economically anxious insurrectionists advanced on the Capitol.
So we've been following this protest. We headed to the Capitol, and the Trump supporters just broke through the gates, and they're now heading into the Capitol right now. People are getting waved up towards the Capitol. Take it back. I'm hearing people saying, let's go, keep going. Who are you with?
The American people.
The American people. Are you military?
Not answering that.
You're not military?
No,
Why are you dressed like military?
I'm not. These
You're-
are just clothes.
Is that camouflage?
It is.
But you're in an urban environment. Isn't that sort of the antithetical to camouflage?
I don't think so.
Are you looking to make an aggressive action right now?
No, I'm looking to make a statement.
What's your statement?
The election was stolen. We want free and fair elections. And if we can't have that in this country, we don't have anything.
So what do you plan on doing?
We're just going to see how it unfolds.
You'll see how it unfolds. All right, good luck with the paintball tournament.
The rioters brought real weapons and committed real atrocities. They attacked our democracy, our police, and even our cameraman.
Does that matter? Hey, you assaulted me! I was saying you assaulted me!
Trump's fake tough guy military are literally throwing themselves on the ground to perpetuate victimhood.
If the Trump presidency is going to come to an end, this seems fitting. A show of aggression ending with a bunch of people screaming at a building without a working understanding of how democracy works. America 2021.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. I know it's a long clip, but I just wanted to get the feel back from last week so we could talk about it, because what a historic kind of happening that was. It was so unprecedented and it was so insane. How are you guys doing 1 week later? What do you think? What are your thoughts 1 week later from this?
I'm getting angrier every day, personally. Yeah. I mean, I first was just kind of in shock. I mean, it's like the traditional steps of kind of mourning. I feel like we've lost touch with anything that's sane. And the first day I was like, it was like being in a movie. It was not even real. And I'm really pissed, and I'm getting more pissed. And I'm getting more pissed looking at this Republican Party that continues to kind of placate lies, and
they're just unapologetic. Well, they apologize, but their apologies aren't real, and everybody can see it and know it. It's not real. It's just saving face at this point. But they're like, oh, sorry, so sorry that we got arrested by the FBI, but we still want to overthrow the government, and y'all still suck. I mean, they really just don't. They're not even really apologetic. They're only apologetic because now they're having to pay consequences.
Well, it's emblematic. The whole thing in retrospect is emblematic of what the Republican Party has become over the years. I'm blanking on what the name of the book was. I think it might have been It's Even Worse Than It Looks, but it talks about how the Republican Party, starting in the 70s under the guidance of Newt Gingrich, retook the House, retook the Senate, and basically the way Newt, when he was Speaker of the House, game the system, game C-SPAN, use the media, use television, position the cameras to benefit him, so that and his party, to make it look like they were the party of the people and that they were doing all these things to benefit the people, American people, when for so long it had been the Democratic Party that had been fighting for the rights of workers and fighting for the rights of Americans everywhere and raising taxes, and through his manipulation he has created this filter of we're the ones actually fighting for you, when in reality, they're the ones that are giving tax breaks to the rich. They're taking away Social Security. They're taking away Medicare, programs that benefit social programs that benefit everybody in this country. And they've created this perception that you should be rich. And the fact that you aren't isn't the fault of rich people. It's the fault of Democrats who are trying to keep you down. And that is just played into this idea of victimhood and victimization of what is the majority of the Republican Party, which is white men. And that's why you get the whole, illegals are coming over the Mexican border and they're taking your jobs. It's like, really, they're taking your jobs? What jobs are they taking from you? The minimum wage picking fruit? No one, like there was in Alabama, they put down some of the harshest laws to root out immigrants that were here without papers. And so they left, and Alabama's in, I believe it was either Alabama or Arkansas, and they the entire community that was picking those fruits and vegetables just left. So they tried to fill it in with prisoners. They tried to get prisoners. They said, look, you can go outside. You're going to be outside in the fresh air. You just had to pick fruit. And their agricultural economy just went to shit. I don't know if we can swear here. Sorry if we can't.
I think you can. You're okay.
It just got decimated because even prisoners white male prisoners didn't want to do the jobs that Mexican immigrants were doing. Like, it's this perception that we're better than them, and we want them to do the shit jobs because we're not going to do them. But at the same time, they're taking our jobs. Like, you can't. They've created this double standard idea of what they think reality is, when in fact it's all nonsense, and it's all this picture that's been painted for them by the leadership of the Republicans over the last 4 decades.
Absolutely. We have, they are in their own reality right now.
Yeah, it's everything that you said, Dave, I completely agree with. And, you know, I think it's interesting to watch them play dress up and pretend like this is like Walmart, where, you know, they didn't like the decision that was made, so they're just going to keep going up the rungs to meet the manager. There's no manager that's just going to, you know, flip the election because you feel like it. And I'll tell you, as a person of color, there's 2 days that stick out in my mind. It was 9/11. I knew exactly where I was in school, you know, what was going on, the emotions, and definitely that day. Because, I mean, just when we were in college and we would hold up like signs, you know, to protest the Iraq war, anything like that, we got ID'd, and we were standing so far away, peacefully protesting with little stupid cardboard signs. And to watch these people literally be hanging themselves over the podium, you know, and just running amok in the Senate, I don't think anger is even the right word. It was a literal slap in the face. It was like, this is okay, but standing outside, and it just belittles every movement, especially this summer that we've had for people of color, for the gay and lesbian community, LGBT community, for the Black Lives Matter movement. They've made it a mockery, just like them dressing up like military people.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
Well, this whole raid on the Capitol could have never happened if Trump did not refuse the guard to come in. Like, he refused them so many times. This was the whole entire plan. He wanted this exact thing to happen.
Having plausible deniability.
I actually think that we're never going to ultimately find out the whole truth, and I'm like not necessarily a conspiracy theorist, but I think those meetings where it was Mike Flynn and Rudy Giuliani and what's his name, Stone, and Sidney Powell, and that time that guy from the head of the Proud Boys was at the White House, I think this was from the top a decision, and I think that's why there was so much miscommunication. It was not just about human error. I mean, human error we're all accustomed to when things go wrong, but there was too much human error in the structure of how things should have happened correctly, that I believe that we're never going to really know, but everyone was involved. It's going to be, honestly, it's going to be like who killed Kennedy.
Well, I agree with that too. What else I was going to say is I think a lot of people in Washington, D.C. didn't think that they would actually go that far. I really don't think they did. They thought, okay, they're crazy. They're poor white folks coming from the rural areas of the South, and they're just going to come up here and make a lot of noise and bang. You know, I don't think they really expected. Well, as far as I think everybody outside of who Abe was talking about, that's who I'm talking about. They didn't expect it.
Right.
They did not ever think, as bad as Trump is, they did not ever think he would go that far.
Well, when I think of Donald Trump, he's a showman. He's a reality TV star. You know, this whole political thing for him is all trial and error, and he loves to put on a good show. So I think there was an element for him, and over the last 4 years, the last long 4 years, we have seen him, you know, say the most outlandish things, but this time it was inciting insurrection, and he got impeached for it. I mean, I think he really learned in this moment that he cannot say anything. And that is the best consequence that I can ever think of for him, because he has had little to no consequence in the last 4 years, right?
Most of his life. He gets away with not paying contractors. He's screwed over small businesses. he is he has reached the pinnacle of narcissism, and this is the first time. If you tell a narcissist no, it's like they can't comprehend it, and I think that's what we're seeing is him being told no. And I'm pretty convinced that the people that adore him and that love him also are either attracted to narcissists or they are narcissists as well, and that's why they're emboldened by him. They're just like him. They like I think Dave said it earlier the best, that these are people that feel like maybe they were wrongfully cheated out of being millionaires, and convinced somehow that they have all this power that they're being held away from, and Donald Trump's going to give them the path. He just used them. He just used their crazed mannerisms to just get to everything that he wants. And I'm genuinely afraid for the 3 days around the main inauguration day, the day before, day of, and day after.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's the embodiment of what the Republican Party has become. I mean, he's a low rent PT Barnum. He's what Republicans have been striving for over the years as they've gone further and further and further and further to the extremes. And you look at, I mean, it's been consistent. Like in retrospect, now we're looking at George W. Bush as a reasonable president, but at the time he was. Him with Dick Cheney as his vice president, they were extreme right, and then Sarah Palin pushed it further. Even though John McCain would be considered a moderate, Sarah Palin was the one who was able to go out there and rile shit up. Then after that, it was Paul Ryan, who, even though theoretically he wasn't that extreme, he was willing to play to those crowds and those bases and just give lip service to the truth without actually presenting it to the crowds when he was running as VP. And then now we have this. I mean, this is what they've slowly driven to as a party, which is why it's now tearing the party apart, because now you're going to have the people who have been moderate Republicans over the years. And if it tears this party apart, fuck it, I'm fine with it because they brought it on themselves. But
absolutely,
what's happened is you've had them. You now have to deal with moderate conservatives and moderate Republicans who have sat there and said, okay, this is too much. This is too far. The fact that you're attacking our Capitol, and you sit there saying, like, all the people who were like the idiot who I've never read the Constitution to know what it says. That's the constant refrain. I know exactly what the Constitution says because I've been told this by Fox News, Newsmax, OAN. This is what I've heard. This is what I believe, regardless of the fact that I've never actually read it, so I can't say what's in it. And they're just going to believe what they want to believe, and then you have that. They'll find the sources to reinforce their beliefs, and
the bigger, scarier thing.
Like Trump, they're gonna follow him wholeheartedly because he's telling them what they want to hear, and that's the problem with mob mentality. Is individually they would not have done that on their own, but when you get enough people together, and that's what the leaders of like the Proud Boys and all those people do, is when you get enough of those people by themselves, psychologically speaking, individually they would not act on it. But you get enough of them together, they feel they're safe in numbers, they're safe in groups, so they're willing to go above and beyond what they would have normally done on their own.
The scary thing for me, really, that gets me more angry every day is knowing that it was an inside job. It's knowing that at least 3 of the senators or the Congress people were specifically involved. Now, I'm not saying that Bert actually toured them on the 5th, but she's in there. She actually admitted that she was texting with Trump.
That's
leading up to 1776. She's
unreal.
She's guilty by admission.
Well, the fact that she's texting the location of Pelosi throughout that, I mean, that's what the fuck.
So the point is that it doesn't even matter. Trump doesn't even matter anymore. He's officially gone. Now we have to deal with the infiltration of QAnon in our government, and how do we extrapolate them? And it's not going to be easy. And
we have to deal with the fact that we still had 13 people, going against the electoral votes. We've got a lot of traitors in our midst that are still there. Donald Trump may be gone, but we have those people. We've got these QAnon people. That Bogart lady. She takes the cake.
I like to call her Boobert.
Boobert. Well, Abe, you did some really great TikToks about that. But I also want to talk about real quick how kind of idiotic they were in this insurrection. because really at the end of the day, we have to find some humor in it. And I think back to Crooks are stupid, because all they did was film themselves and put it on social media. These people literally gave themselves up. What do you have to say to that, guys?
That's what was going to happen. That's who they tapped. This is all. The Russians won this entire war without firing a bullet. They came up with these. They did. They came up with these crazy stories, threw them out there. Whatever stuck to the wall, they're like, great. They never read a book, but they'll read a preach it, girl. A thing, and now they know, because they have feasted. They know the dumb ones with the guns. That's all we need to get on our side, and we don't need to waste a dime. They won. That's what they did, and that is my thing. Is this the ringleader might have left, but now we have to acknowledge the reality of we've got these crazies that are not going anywhere, and they are so brainwashed, and they're going to continue to go to these QAnon sources and things to get their information. I don't know how we win that. I don't know if we can put everybody in re-education camps, but maybe school would be a start. Like,
I don't know. I just don't. I don't know how.
The last thing we should do is invoke re-education camps, considering that's something that's been timelessly used by dictators and authoritarians. But other than that, I'm for it.
Whatever.
Well, we haven't. You guys, there was a start this week. You know, the banning Trump on Twitter. I've been a huge advocate for that for as long as I can remember, because stopping the misinformation at its source, right? And now Parler is being kind of, shut down. These are the beginnings of helping people not being able to spread information as fast. And real quick, I have a clip that I want to show you guys. I'm not going to show the whole thing because I don't think any one of us can stomach it. It's just a little bit of propaganda that this is the kind of stuff. Yeah, get ready for it. This is the kind of stuff that the people on the right see, because we're talking about this now, and it is a huge problem in our country. We had 70 some odd people voting for Donald Trump, even more people this election than the last. So they're doing something right as far as propaganda. So take a look at this.
General George Washington's soldiers were freezing cold, fighting for independence against tyranny, domination, and control. It was their moment to stand up and fight for freedom. To many, January 6th is such a moment.
The battle for the White House is now a full-fledged struggle for the survival of this constitutional republic.
We, the people, are in control of the United States, and we will take our rights back.
74 million Americans are not going to shut up. This is about taking a stand where you can take a stand.
We need to fight back. We win because of our ideas. We lose elections because they cheat us.
We're going to keep fighting until every illegal vote is thrown out.
They rigged the election in front of all of us, and nobody did anything about it.
Call your congressman and feel free. You can lightly threaten them. If you don't start supporting election integrity, I'm coming after you. Madison Cawthorn's coming after you. Everybody's coming after you.
We're not timid folk. We're people who understand when there's a challenge in front of us, we rise to the challenge. We fight, finish, keep.
It is time to stand and fight. The swamp isn't truly drained until we've nailed the hides of the alligators to the wall.
We need to fight back. We need to strike at the heart.
That's enough of that.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey.
Hi. All right. So, you guys, wasn't that disgusting?
Well, here's the thing, though. That's what they've been good at. And like I was saying earlier, that's what Rush Limbaugh, or not Rush Limbaugh, Newt Gingrich has been working on. Well, Rush Limbaugh, too. But the thing is like, you're dealing with a party, which is the Democrats and progressives, that deals in truth and facts. And you're dealing with a party that searches for power. And when it comes to the search for power, there's no rules. You say whatever you have to say. And truths and facts are fucking boring. Like it's so fucking difficult to make truth and fact and like numbers and statistics actually interesting, which is why when you're willing to lie and just throw shit out there, that's why Hitler was able to come to power, because everybody wanted to hear what he had to say, because he made a scapegoat out of the Jews. He said, you're the victims to all the German people who had been who felt that they had been unfairly persecuted after World War I. And so when you play that victim card to them, to your base, and it's been Republicans throughout, and they've just been turned up to 11 with Trump. When you play that card to them and say, "Look, this is the propaganda we're going to sell you," they're going to swallow it wholeheartedly because lies are more palatable than truth and fact and numbers and science and statistics. You don't want to believe that there's a virus going around killing you. I don't want to fucking believe it.
Well,
I just have to.
all those things actually gain more traction on social media as well. Conspiracy theories actually gain traction and hold people's attention and keep them spinning down the rabbit hole even more.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to say welcome to Ryan Shead, everybody. Ryan, can you introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, my name's Ryan Shead. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. I'm everywhere. You can't miss me. So I'm just glad to be here. You guys will hear plenty of me. So let's keep moving. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say for Matt Getz, who is the creature of the Black Lagoon, to be talking about the swamp is just so unbelievably insane that it's just,
Well, I would like to build on something that what Dave was just talking about. It's not just what's easiest. It's because it's all tied into Christianity and their version of Christianity. It has to do with their faith. It has to do with their willingness and ability to have faith in that one leader that's going to lead them. It's all tied in. Yes, it is a cult kind of situation. I've been in one. I know Dutchess Prim has been. I wish she was here to kind of talk about this with me. But that type of focus and faith, it is not easily reasoned with. They will make excuses for every single thing to reason away everything else so that it does not tarnish their faith and their belief in their spiritual leader. And that's what Trump is for them.
Well, that's why specifically the right has targeted Christians and the Christian. That's why it's called the Christian right, is because since the mid 70s and really got turbocharged with Reagan, they specifically catered to religious people because they know that they're more easily influenced. Now, I'm not saying I'm an atheist, but if you want to believe whatever you want to believe, that's fine. It's when you start pushing it on others. Like the perfect example is abortion. Like this whole argument of you can't tell me what to do with religion, but but my religion can tell you what to do with your body is the nonsense that I won't abide by. But that's what they've done over the years because they've said, look, we can tap into this group that already has their faith without question, believes without question what's been told to them. It's not that much more of a stretch if we say we believe that too, which most of those leaders don't. Ronald Reagan didn't believe any of the Christian stuff he spewed. He just said it because he knew that it tapped into those voters. Same with Trump. Trump says that shit repeatedly, but he is on the record as being pro-abortion, not being religious. He did like they over and over again. They've seen him where he couldn't name a passage in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. He couldn't even name one. Not even.
I like 2 Corinthians. It's good. It's a good number. Yeah. 2 Corinthians. Like what the fucking.
And he didn't pay his lawyer. I mean, his lawyer probably had been waiting to get paid for like many months. Rudy Giuliani. And
I think it's just fucking hilarious and good.
Yeah. I mean, he said trial by combat. I mean, literally, Rudy Giuliani is part of this whole group of people that went to the Capitol in his words, honestly. I mean, Trump is also just as equal.
He definitely deserves some of the credit, doesn't he?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all knew to throw Rudy under the bus, though. We all knew it was coming.
Oh, yeah.
Well, who doesn't Trump throw under the bus? And especially now that he is impeached for the second time, he's backed into a corner. And I think everybody saw him doing some kind of a make nice speech the other day, but it was a little too late, right? He can't backtrack on the things he said. And he is willing to probably throw anyone under the bus right now to try to save face, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm going to show a clip real quick, and then I want to talk about this impeachment.
For more on what's next, we turn to our Capitol Hill correspondent, Casey Hunt. And Casey, the president releasing that conciliatory statement was no accident. He knows he has 100 jurors in the United States Senate now watching his every move. How much do you think these next few days, his final days in office, dictate whether Republicans stick with him or not?
I think it could mean everything, Savannah. And that's part of why Mitch McConnell saying he's open to conviction is so important, because it puts the president on notice. If he incites more violence, if he doesn't toe the line, try to calm the nation down, he stands a very real chance of being convicted of inciting insurrection and then ultimately being barred from ever holding federal office again, Savannah.
Well, when we put up the senators and you look at it, and there's 50 Republican senators, they'd have to pick off 17 Republican senators. And when you start going individually, who's up for election, what states are they from, that is a very high number to reach. Realistically, is there a chance of conviction in the Senate?
It is a very high bar, Savannah. Again, I think it really depends on how the next 6 days go. It also depends on what Mitch McConnell decides to do. If he decides to vote to convict, it's very likely he could take more of these senators with him. I also think you're going to see continued debate here about what happened on Wednesday. We could learn more about the attack. And remember, Kevin McCarthy did, in fact, say the president bears some responsibility. He's, of course, the leader of House Republicans, someone who has previously been a staunch defender of Republicans. And while Liz Cheney, who voted to impeach the president, has faced some backlash from the most pro-Trump members in the House, she's also gotten some defense from others who say that voting her conscience was most important here. This issue is still so incredibly emotional. Walking into the Capitol, seeing National Guards members asleep on the floor, that's what's confronting these senators every day. And it may have an impact as we go forward here, Savannah.
All right. So impeachment, guys. What a week, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm with Sadia. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think that there's actually a better chance than we think for the specific, like, two reasons. One, Mitch is pissed. And two, impeachment would actually there's so many people that are, if for nothing else, then it's self-serving to people like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. They don't want to have to run against him in 2024. And whether or not he actually runs in 2024, he's still a factor unless he's completely out of the running legally.
Josh Hawley and Cruz are going to be forced out of the Senate. There's no question.
Well, yes, but
the Lincoln Project is putting $100 million into getting them to get out. So, all that changed overnight.
Yeah, but before that, there's a good chance that if it's just out of spite, they may take him out just on their way out. I mean, that's whether it's self-serving for them to not have to run against him, or whether it's out of spite or whatever. I think there's a good chance. And it goes a lot for the entire Republican Party, because they don't want to go through this again. Like, they've got enough shit to deal with without having to deal with Trump and his fucking psychopath followers.
I don't think it's the Republican Party anymore. I think it's the Trump Party. I think it will easily fracture into two as the best thing that could happen for anybody that has common sense. And I feel like because of that they would lose most of their base. So they're not going to suddenly grow spines overnight. We haven't seen it in 4 years. It's not just going to happen tonight or when they go to take care of this. I just and I think some of them reason that it's going to keep things calmer than actually, going forward with impeachment in the Senate. So I don't know. That's why I just don't have a strong faith in it. I would love for it to happen, but
I think it's more of they're going to take a calculated approach, thinking that it benefits them and that in a year it'll be out of the news because Trump will just dip out because he'll have so many other issues, most of them legal. In fact, the banks are trying to collect on him and may foreclose on his buildings and all that other stuff. They're going to look at it. They're going to look at it in a calculated way and think, okay, well, he's got enough shit to deal with. He's not going to come knocking on our door, so we can do this quietly. And in a year, everybody will forget because he'll be so underwater from the other shit he has to deal with.
I agree with.
Go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
I agree with part of what you're saying, but I think it's the opposite, Dave. I think I honestly think what it is they don't want to lose the base. So prime example, Mitch came out and basically said he's not going to call for the vote, you know, before the inauguration or whatever. And that kind of after everything that him and Lindsey Graham and all those guys said on the floor the night that this all happened, their actions are showing us something completely different. And what it's showing me is that they're more concerned with the 74 million plus people that still voted Republican after all this stuff. And they're more concerned with all the people that are still in my comments defending what happened on the 6th. They're worried about losing the base and their jobs. That's what
I get that, but that's why I'm saying they won't do it. Like, it won't happen before McConnell's out. As majority speaker, but it will have. They are, because there's no. Again, this comes down to the calculation. He is specifically saying we can't do it until after Biden is inaugurated. When Biden is inaugurated, Democrats take over the Senate, so then they can control the calendar. By doing that, what he does is he takes the onus off himself, so he can sit there and just spin it as well. Democrats brought it up, and I have no control anymore. I'm out of power. This is what they did when. Which is bullshit. It is bullshit. But what they'll do is when it comes time to get re-upped, it's like, well, we tried to protect Trump, and there was nothing we can do about it. And when they say, well, you needed 17 Republicans, they're like, oh, we don't remember who that was, or we took care of them, or whatever. And it's not. It's a more calculated approach. By not being in the Senate, he can sit there and go along with it. And there was recently a New York Times article that just came out. It was either today or yesterday that said McConnell is in favor of this happening because it rids the Republican Party of Trump. And he specifically did not push back on it, like him and Lindsey Graham and all those other people that have been the head, like the heads and the four figures of the Republican Party for the last decade, 2 decades. None of them pushed back on that. They all were silent when, like, if they really didn't want it to happen, they would have said, no. That's not, like, he let his office leak to the New York Times that he was okay with it if it happened.
Okay, but but what's bothering me is that's politics. They're playing fucking politics.
It is politics,
you can get not you. They can get a Supreme Court justice passed in, like, what was it, 8 days? But you're telling me that after an insurrection against the United States Capitol, that you motherfuckers, that you people can't come together? And I'm the one that usually says it. You're telling me that you guys can't all come together and push the Senate to get to remove this man. No, instead, the Republican Party's doing what they do best, and they're sitting back and just waiting and letting time pass so that they can just take an action.
I completely agree with you in that sense, that they're sitting there and waiting for it to happen so that they can sit back. But that's the thing, though, is they're taking the cowardice way out. And again, it comes down to the calculation of what's going to be most self-serving to them. And most self-serving to them is let it die down a little bit, have it. Don't really because nobody's going to want to show the footage of the impeachment trial, especially after he's already out of office. Democrats aren't going to want to show it either because they're not going to want to rile up his base. So what's going to probably end up happening is this impeachment trial will go under the radar. They're not going to get a lot of coverage on it because unless you watch C-SPAN, there aren't going to be that many dramatics to it, and there's going to be so much else going on that it'll be a blip in media. So what they're counting on is that this is going to fly under the radar, and they're going to be able to vote for it, and nobody's none of their supporters are going to know.
Hold on. Let's let Abe talk real quick. Go ahead, Abe.
I have to disagree.
Abe and Indy.
The reason why I disagree is because what the last 4 years proved to all of us is that every media outlet makes money and eyeballs off of Trump. He is not going quietly into the night. Every fart he's going to lay between now and he dies is going to be news. That's just the way it is. There's no getting around that, especially if he's dragged to court, especially if he goes bankrupt in this thing, especially if they sell off a building. Every negative thing that happens to him is going to be the top in the news because they make money.
I agree with that.
They're not ready to hand in their chips to say, oh, it's Biden. Let's just sit and fawn over Biden. They don't make money on Biden.
Well, no.
Let's let Indy go next.
Sorry.
I'm the mom of the group. I have to monitor, make sure everyone gets a voice, people. Okay.
All right. So coming from Kentucky, I know a lot about Mitch McConnell. The man has been in office since I was 8 years old. So I'm quite familiar with how he thinks, what he does, and his history. He is like the great big bloated spider at the middle of the web of Washington, D.C. Everyone thinks that the person in charge is the president, but it's not. It has been Mitch McConnell for a very long time, whether he is Senate majority or Senate minority. It doesn't matter. What he says goes for the Republican Party. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think that he is not going to want to piss off his base even more by allowing the impeachment to go through. But I think he will appease the incoming administration by preventing him from ever running for federal office again, because those are two totally separate things. They can do the impeachment through the Senate and then go back and decide whether or not he can ever run for federal office again. Those can be two separate things. I was reading about it today. So I think that that's what Mitch is going to do, because it's all about the base and it's all about the power that he can wield. And in order to wield his power, he has to have a voting base.
Yep.
And I also think that he is going to allow some sacrificial lambs in order to appease the Democrats, while also still stabilizing the base. So he's going to pick and choose who he thinks is the most dangerous to the future of his version of the Republican Party.
Right. Agreed.
I completely agree. He's been the most powerful person in Congress for the last 12 years since he said he was going to make Obama a one-term president. I mean, his whole thing has been about obstruction. I just think in this case, and again, I do not deny that likely it won't happen, but I think this moment is the best chance for actual impeachment to go through. And I did hear the same thing about that they can pass a law that says he can't run. But I think it's more concrete if they tie it to impeachment. Because impeachment in the law, impeachment, if you're impeached, you legally cannot run. To do a second,
and they don't know how to. They can't get a thing. If it's up to the Democrats, he won't get impeached because the Democrats are just ineffective overall. The fact that we won all that we won this past 2 months is because of the people, not because of the politicians.
Yes.
Oh no, they're terrible when it comes. Democrats are terrible when it comes to running campaigns. But that again goes back to the demagoguery and to the lies and the propaganda that Republicans.
Yeah, but the Democrats are going to be like, oh, let's not piss off. Let's focus on Biden. Believe me, Trump is getting away with murder if he did so on Fifth Avenue. But it's as long as he can't run, Mitch McConnell is going to be happy because Mitch McConnell does not see the Republican Party as Trump and Trumpism. And by the way, the word Trumpism is not even a friggin' word. It was made up by the media. The media made that up. Eyeballs, click, click, click. They're the worst. They're guilty of us sitting here having this conversation.
I love you, babe.
Doesn't run. I'm just scared anybody with a Trump name, even if Trump doesn't run, because I feel like he's going to be prosecuted for a lot of things afterwards. My fear is, maybe one of his offspring, they utilize his Trump name. I'm looking at Ivanka Trump. Unless they too get in legal trouble, my fear is that they will utilize that name to keep their base energized and have her run.
I agree.
I co-sign that.
I don't want anyone to co-sign that. That sounds terrible.
I gotta co-sign what she said.
Imagine how much it would cost us for the Secret Service to use the bathroom if she was president.
The thing about using that name though is none of them are the carnival barkers that he is. Like, I mean, it's
right.
You have to. He has a. Much as I can't stand the guy, I have to acknowledge that when it comes to entertainment, he knows how to push the right buttons. He did the reality show thing for years, and it's. I mean, he's a fucking con man who knows how to say the right thing to turn on his base. And like I said earlier, he's a low rent PT Barnum who just knows how to shuck bullshit. And I don't think his kids, Eric certainly isn't. Don Jr. Like Don Jr. is just fucking greasy, and Ivanka is probably the closest one, but
Yeah.
But think of the Bush family. You had Bush Sr., who was way more composed and utilized, and George Bush, or George W., was a flunky in comparison in most aspects of life. And because they already had that Bush base, that dynasty kind of thing, right? Like you look at Hillary too.
Yeah.
She took over the fan base of that. So that's my fear, is that Trump is the target, but I don't know if that's the only target that we should have to make sure that they can't run. I don't
fair, but I don't think that it'll benefit them at this time. Like I agree with you, but I don't think like now this whole public service running for office, I don't think benefits them. I think they're going to be so focused on trying to hold on to what they have left of their empire, for no better word. Their money.
I have agree with that. It does benefit them because they can continue to siphon money from campaigns. And that's the only thing. Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything else, but in terms of them getting into politics, no, I think there's definitely incentive for them to do that, because they can just keep sucking money from the donors that keep sending them their hard-earned money for some weird reason.
And 100%, and also the fact that all these articles today, like several articles saying that the Trump brand is like not worth anything now, so they have to figure out how to kind of jump back from that. That's my next post is going to be, they could do Trump beer cozies. They should cater the Trump name to that crowd. They have to do like 6 kind of hotels, which is like 6.
Stop giving them ideas for free. Stop giving them ideas for free.
If he was actually at the helm at being the person to actually put out that Trump toilet paper and the Trump stuff, I mean, he would have already made a lot more money from even the Democrats.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the hope for his business imploding is that it like if all these banks like Deutsche Bank and all the stuff that's coming due, all the loans that are coming due, and the fact that his banks have now cut him off and they're trying to pull his name off of buildings. I mean, if that continues to happen and these legal cases in New York and Florida and whatnot come back against him, I mean, they're gonna be able to more easily, and if you get them impeached, they're gonna more easily be able to tie that entire family to a loser. And none of those people, like, that's the thing. The reason they got behind Trump in the first place was because they saw him as a winner. Even though it was a bullshit mythology, they saw him as a winner. So if you can paint him as a loser, which if the Republicans would get their shit together, they could easily do, then you don't have to worry about the kids.
75 million people voted. Like 75 million people voted for Trump. I wonder how many people still would vote for Trump today if that same thing happened. Like the vote
71 million.
Again. Really, just 71 million. I mean, it's
dude, I thought that this was going to be a turning point. Once again, I'm eating crow, and I was wrong. I literally thought, I'm like, okay, after the 6th, I'm looking around like, this is it. Like, everybody that is going to look around and be like, what the hell just happened to our country? Yeah. Like, but sure enough, I was sadly mistaken, and getting comments on Twitter, on TikTok, on Facebook of people that are like, well, this was just necessary. What do you mean it was necessary? No, it's not. Like, you cannot justify to me in any way, shape, or form what happened on the 6th. You can't. There is no justification for that. Especially the talking points that I've been getting beat over the head with for the last 12 months in relation to Black Lives Matters and those protests. Like, come on, man.
No, there's no
justification. That is a great segue into something I want to show you guys. I want to talk about. You're so good, Ryan. Well, you know what? You gave me. I'm trying to pivot here in different directions.
Good pivot. That's a good pivot.
You pivot, but Dave gave me a segue to something else, but now we'll have to go back to that later.
I don't remember what I said the last.
You were talking about New York cutting ties with Trump, and we'll talk about that later.
I did.
But I do have a clip about Donald Trump's kind of association with white supremacists, and I think we can't really talk about what happened on the 6th and all of this without addressing that thing, because that is his base. And we know this. So I'm going to clip as much as we can stand.
Donald Trump is famous for being quick with an insult.
He's going like, I don't remember.
He's insulted reporters.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Okay, that's all I can stand.
This Elizabeth Warren, I call her goofy.
Crying Chuck Schumer, crying Chuck. Bunch of losers.
And even voters to their face.
How stupid are the people of Iowa?
But there's one group he's been strangely reluctant to insult: white supremacists.
The moment that's jolted the Republican Party, Trump's response to receiving the support of former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard David Duke.
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
That's right. Donald Trump launched his 2016 campaign by going full Mariah on David Duke.
I don't know her.
Oh, please. David Duke is the Betty White of racism. He's been in the game forever, and everyone knows who he is. Saying you hate David Duke is literally the easiest thing in the world. Even his plastic surgeon hates him. Once Trump took office, racists everywhere rejoiced. Hate crime skyrocketed, and white supremacists rallied around Trump as their new icon.
Hail Trump! Hail our people!
I mean, who wouldn't look at this guy and see master race?
Okay, hold on. I just have to say I love Roy Wood and the whole Daily Show crew. But why you got to do Betty White like that?
I agree. And it was just her birthday too.
I wrote
99.
it down. I wrote that down because I was like, dude, the Betty White joke got me.
She's 99. Don't do that to Betty. Come on, she is an institution unto herself. What are you doing?
That's fair.
I should have edited it out. Sorry, guys.
It's not your fault.
I thought it was hilarious.
Look, it's
The
not
Betty
like
White of
it's
racism.
not like he's invented racists and white supremacists.
No.
My hope is that the Biden administration can figure out some kind of ways to give pacifiers, whether it's jobs and certain programs that they would benefit from, so that little by little they kind of, hey, Jolene, how you doing?
Hey, Amanda.
Hey,
You have to figure out a way to give them some kind of something to suck on, because that's the only thing that's going to pacify them.
But this is who the Republican Party is, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, and that's kind of what I was getting to earlier with the Trump supporters going on and Ryan saying I thought we were going to get past this, is because nobody wants to accept what they are. When you call somebody, like it's really tough to like, nobody wants to hear they're a racist. Nobody wants to acknowledge the bad things about themselves. And so it's, psychologically speaking, you're going to sit there and do everything you can to avoid acknowledging what you are while still continuing to be what you are. Like, perfect example, I have a buddy that I was hanging out with, this was a few years ago, and we're sitting in his kitchen. I'm with him and his parents, and we're hanging out. I don't remember what we were talking about. And then the conversation got heated, and his dad starts saying something and then stops, looks around, and then says, these N-words, da-da-da-da. And I'm sitting there, and two things struck me. One, wow. And two, did you really just look around your son's kitchen before you dropped an N-bomb? Like, you... Like, oh my God, I'm gonna get called out for this. Oh, good, there's no one's here. I can say it. Like, what are you thinking? But that's the thing is it's this idea of, as long as I do it in private, I'm not guilty of being racist.
Yep.
And as long as you don't call me out for it, I'm not a racist. So when you call me out for it, I'm gonna deny it to the end of time, because I'm not gonna acknowledge the worst about me.
That hits hard.
And for me, I'll even add on to that, Dave. I think that self-awareness, that lacking self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to look in the mirror and be like, oh, like for me, I'm going to tell you what mine was as a middle-aged white guy. It was it was the white privilege, the saying white privilege. When that first came out, I was kind of pissed off about it. And, I was one of those people that was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, I've had to struggle, blah, blah, blah. And then I finally took a step back, and looked in the mirror and tried to understand what people were trying to teach me, and trying to open my eyes to, and realizing that I had an inherent privilege, because just simply based off the color of my skin, that there are struggles that I was never going to have to go through personally, just based off of that. And once that self-awareness kicked in, it opens everything up, right? You can become self-aware about a lot of other things. And so that's why I tell that story a lot, because I want to tell people, like, dude, I didn't just magically become this woke person. Like, growth is a choice, and you have to educate yourself and talk to other people, try to understand other people's cultures and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's a learned thing, and that's what I hope that we can get back to, is for us to just be a little more accepting. But yeah, man, those people, when you're lacking that self-awareness and you hit them with that stone, you cast that stone, you can always tell.
I think that what is happening right now, though, is that his base, they are pretty much all about fear. Everything is about fear right now. Fear of being the minority, fear of being the minority, fear of being replaced, fear of not having privilege.
Yep.
You know, knowing that you have privilege.
It's fear of the other. It's fear of the other. It's what led to Hitler's rise. It's what led to the Nazi Party. It's fear of other, fear of something that you are not comfortable with and not accustomed to because you didn't grow up with it. And it's not in the majority that you are used to. So it's fear of the other. That's why it's used against Mexican immigrants, even though the majority of illegal immigrants come into this country legally.
Amanda, what do you have to say to that? Or one of the other ladies?
I gotta go right now, you guys.
Bye, Bert. I got to see you for like 2
sorry, I gotta go really early.
Bert, I'll try to do the Zoom thing. I'll try to do it.
Okay,
don't worry about it, man.
Have a good one, Bert. Good seeing you.
Okay, good seeing you too, Dave. See you
Bye,
guys. Have
brother.
a great
Have a good one, Bert.
day, you guys. Bye.
Can we just acknowledge that Amanda slid in? Because
Amanda Henn, can you welcome to the group? Can you plug your page and say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody. Amanda Henn, blah, 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 blah. I'm the cursing grandmother and friend to all.
Can we get a demonstration?
Not on this page. It'll be taken down. We don't want anybody
I tried.
I already dropped one for you, Amanda. Sorry.
Oh, well,
I got asked to laugh.
John.
I just wanted a demonstration.
I don't have my glasses on. I know that Jesus is here, isn't he?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure something out.
How was that wine, Amanda? Was it red wine or white wine that Jesus turned it into?
Honey, it doesn't matter which kind it was, as long as it was wine. I'm old, but I'm not quite that old.
I love it. I love you. Okay.
I love you too. But I wanted to just jump in a second about the privilege thing. If you think that, I mean, I've been getting that for years about the privilege thing. Being Hollywood or a model or whatever it is. And I'm like, are you? And it used to really bother me. But then it really came home to me this year and go, yeah, I don't care how poor I was as a kid or, from a little bitty town or anything. Yeah, I had privilege.
Yep. Absolutely.
And once you recognize it, I had my grandfather that was such a civil rights worker in the 60s. So I had somebody that was such a good role model that showed me the way.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I feel like I was really fortunate the way I was brought up because
I love you, Dave.
We were comfortable, but I was bused to an all-black high school. So I had to immediately learn how to navigate that world and then go back to that other world. And that other world was actually less interesting than the world where you're in the street, where you know how to talk to people, where you know how to function, as opposed to everything really well. Huh?
Can I ask you a personal question? Just a personal side question, just because you brought that up. So you were busted into a pretty much majority black school, and you were gay on top of it. Did you know yet at that point?
I didn't.
At the same time.
I'm from the era when gay wasn't a thing yet, because it was 206 years ago. Everyone was still in the closet. I wasn't really gay then. I was just obesely fat, which was 10 times worse. Okay. But even being a fat nerd, I managed to live in that environment. Humor, dealing drugs. I was the one taught out.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? You learn in the street what you have to do to survive.
Got any on you now?
I'm totally out of the drug.
I mean, my life was so crazy. And Abe, I don't know, both of us are Jewish, but I don't know how much he was raised as a Jew. But growing up a Jew in a very small southern town, I mean, it was bad. And then having I had the dichotomy of, I had one set of grandparents that were very well-to-do. They were the Jewish bunch. And then a country grandparents that were like farmers. And I had to, as Abe says, I had to work that room and know where to go and what to do when I was there. And then having an African-American woman that raised me, and she took me to the AME church and introduced me to, the black gospel music and everything. I mean, I can't imagine having, I wish everybody could have had the life that I had that, really showed you the differences in people's lives.
And I just want to, just because I think it's interesting, I would just want to give a quick thing. Me, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. And just to show the differences and how life leads us different places, like Abe and Amanda. So I grew up in Detroit. My mom ended up divorcing my dad and marrying a black guy. And I was about 5-6 years old right around then.
Everybody's disappearing.
Uh-oh. I think we're all good.
Is it me?
I think it's you.
Or is it y'all?
I think it's you. I saw you kind of stutter earlier.
But coming from that, I was so on the weekends I would go over to my mom's house.
I didn't have time to get the computer out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're freezing a little bit here.
Yeah, you're freezing a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, let me hang up and I'll get on the computer.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But so I would go over to my mom's house on the weekend, every other weekend, and I'd be exposed to a very different atmosphere than I was, at my dad's house. And going down to Detroit, to see my mom when I was younger, like I felt very out of place because it was like I was the one white kid, down there. And I'm talking like they would unscrew the fire hydrants and it was all the black kids running through it. We're talking like 80s, and I was the only white kid down there. And so while it was uncomfortable back then, it's made me very comfortable now being in those situations, and just I was blessed to be raised around everybody. Like different cultures. So everybody was just everybody to me. And then right after that, I got stationed in Okinawa, Japan. So I was around another completely different culture. And I like Amanda said, I wish everybody had that same experience because it's really opened my eyes to how close-minded I was and how sheltered I was raised. But I'm glad that I've gotten to where we are now.
I think that rings so true to looking at the Trumpers right now and the white supremacist group. That is a big section of their base is, these Proud Boys, these white supremacists, and they have a home in our country, whether we like it or not. Yeah. And unfortunately, they're not self-aware.
And they lack diversity.
I still think that 74 million people number, I still really think that the Proud Boys and the real violent ones are a small minority.
Yeah,
and I agree with that. The Republican Party is a very strong party based on what their belief system is, yes, with Christianity and just like conservative values and pregnant and whatever. But I think I think that group will always be there and B is manageable. I definitely do. I just think
but that's the scary thing is right now, these are the people that are trying to incite more violence. We're trying, we're not out of the woods yet. Sadia, you were talking about earlier, you were scared about moving forward with the inauguration, right?
I just have to take a quick second to thank you guys. I actually got a little emotional when I heard Dave and Ryan talking about I guess that wokeness, because I wish there were some of my friends, because I have some long-term friends and it's really created a rift between me and them because they tell me that they don't feel like they should apologize for being white. Nobody's asking you to apologize for being white. We're asking you to just understand that we are not and why it makes such a difference. So I just wanted to thank all of you guys for your story because it means a lot. Seriously. It's not all just like here in Texas. It's that there's people that understand. Nobody wants you to feel bad for not realizing it. We appreciate when you do. When people of color see that other people can relate, it means a lot. So thank you for that.
What I was going to say is the benefit that Ryan has is he grew up in, and not enough people get the opportunity to grow up in that kind of situation, have those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, for the most part, that's a big explanation of white supremacy and the Trump base, is because they don't want to be open to other ideas and other cultures and what's going on. Like, I grew up in a very well-off town. I wasn't part of the rich set, but I went to a private high school. I was I can't say I was the broke one, but I wasn't the one driving. I mean, there was kids with Corvettes and BMWs and shit like that. One girl got a Ferrari for graduation. It was like, are you? She couldn't even drive a stick. I was so pissed off. Her parents had to drive the car to graduation for her. I'm like, no, don't give her that car. She doesn't deserve it till she can learn to fucking drive it. Oops, language. Anyway, so, but it's like I wasn't exposed to it directly. My mother, she directed musical theater, so I got to know a lot of people in the gay community through that in San Francisco, which is where I grew up. And then I went to college, and in college, I was an Africana Studies minor. It would have been a major, but they didn't offer it at the U of A at the time. So I literally spent my days studying in the MLK building. I mean, I was surrounded by Black folks. I got to hang out with them on a regular basis. My friends were on the basketball team, the football team, and I had this wide, varied group of friends. And I never sat there and judged anybody. Like, I've always had this motto of don't judge somebody for what they are, judge them for who they are. It doesn't matter what the color of their skin is, their religion, their political beliefs. Let them show you they're an asshole, and then tell them to go F themselves.
Let me ask you this.
Hold on. We haven't heard from Indy for a while. Do you have anything to add, Indy? I want to make sure everyone's got a voice here.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, didn't mean to bogart.
No, it's good.
Well, why don't you make sure she's unmuted before you stop the conversation?
Sorry, that was my bad. So yes, I will say that depending on where you grow up, it's what you're used to. So just for an example, I'm from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, which is right down the road from the Fort Knox. So lots of diversity, and that's the way I grew up, and that's what I was used to. But now when I married ex-husband number 2, I ended up moving 2 hours southeast in Kentucky to a town that is over 90% white, Baptist, conservative, Christian, Republican. And I'm not lying. And I know this sounds odd, but after about 3 months being there, I'm looking around and I see a woman of color pumping gas. And I literally looked at her and said, where are you all? Where are you? Are there more here? And she just thought I was crazy, and I was. But I had that very real concern about moving my children here, because I knew that they were not going to grow up experiencing the same kind of differences and cultures that I had the opportunity to do. So in this area where I live right now, it is not the norm.
Yeah.
To be anything other than conservative, white, Christian Republicans.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at, like with being, it is nice to have that opportunity, like being in San Francisco. I was in a small town outside of it, but then I lived in San Francisco after that. And then New York and Arizona was probably the whitest place. But it's like when you go to, and that was a college town. So it's not like it was just one little section of Arizona that was nothing but white people, or Kentucky or Alabama or a number of states like there. But it's the constant people shutting themselves off from the outside world and only focusing on their community and not trying to get any experience. That's the problem, and why so many people are shut off to the idea of other cultures and other people existing, because it's not
scary.
It's frightening, and that goes back to the whole idea and notion of the other. It's the other that's the reason that you're not succeeding. It's the other. It's the other that's the reason that you're struggling right now. So it's the other you have to go after, even though you've never met them, even though you've never made the attempt to get to know who they are, and that they might be struggling in the same way and fashion that you are.
Well, the thing that happened the one thing I just wanted to share also is that. When I was like from 0 to like 6 years old, we lived in a town that was primarily like blue collar white, but my family was Jewish. We were the only Jewish family there, and I was the victim of anti-Semitism from when I was just old enough to walk. So I understood that I was the other, and yes, the whole thing about white privilege, I get that. But when you're a victim of anti-Semitism and you are the other, you just always never feel like you have that much privilege because it worked against me. You know what I mean? That's why when we moved to this other town and life was kind of a little more peachy keen in terms of the surroundings, I was more comfortable with the other. You know what I mean?
When they're burning crosses in your yard, you don't feel very privileged.
You know, you guys, this just really like dawned on me that what we're talking about right now and these kind of conversations are probably the first step in healing our country, and they need to be had more often from all sides. We need, and to bring people into this kind of conversation.
I'd also like to say, not to cut you off, but I mean, with it, I mean, looking at the panel, it's a very pale panel, pigment impaired, as I was called during.
I do get diverse panels.
I've tried getting Goddess Mia on our podcast.
Well, I mean, Goddess Mia
wasn't comfortable.
I've tried contacting Goddess Mia as well. I can't get her on through DMs.
There are a number of creators that I'm sure
responded. She's getting there though. She wasn't doing lives. Now that she's doing lives, I think she might start getting on some podcasts, which I'm excited for.
I think there's a number of fantastic creators, people of color that
we had Christian Ortiz on our podcast last night. He was fantastic. But the question I wanted to ask, I was going to ask mainly of Dave, but I'll ask everybody, is, a lot of us have had black friends, whatever our experiences, and probably, I never felt racist, but of course I've evolved. When did it hit you that it was time for us as white people to stand up too? Like it was time for us to not just stand back and not say anything, but it was time for us to stand up and say, that's not okay.
I mean, for me, it goes back to, again, being a minor would have been a double major, but a minor in Africana studies. I mean, I was made well aware of it in college. And so I've never tried to treat any of my black friends any different than anyone else. But when I've seen them harassed, harangued, treated differently, I'm the first to step up because I mean, this is one of the things we did for this little group project was we went around and we were showing off or we were making an example of systemic racism, and the scene we'd set out was being at a store and having the person working the store being white, me being white, and one of my black classmates comes in and they follow him around while I'm literally digging into people's bags right in front of them and just taking shit out and leaving with it. And it's I can't point to a moment where I understood it. It's just something that I'm an egalitarian, which again is why my motto is don't judge somebody for what they are, judge them for who they are. So I've just always kind of been on that path. I couldn't point to one single moment. It's just something I've slowly kind of understood over as I've gotten older and as I've grown as a person. So I don't know if it's a good answer, but
the thing is, we as people, especially in this panel, are very good at communicating with people of color. The thing that we're having and are going to have a problem with is communicating with the white people.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is something that I don't know if this panel is even equipped to figure out.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
I got told today, you realize you're white, right?
Well, I mean, partially.
Only in my pants. But it's just evident.
I'm Italian.
And the conversation turns for the worse.
Yeah, that was quick, wasn't it?
But how do we apply this philosophy that we're talking about to then start broaching the conversation with the people that we really have to cross?
I think you also have to have people that are willing to listen to you.
Well, I mean, it's the difficulty is you can't just force the conversation. You can't. It can't. It's not something. Unfortunately, it's not something you can just bring up and say, "Hey, this is what you need to be aware of." It's something that you have to be willing to step into the line of fire when you see something happen in front of you. and point out what's going on. Because I mean, I am just as guilty as anybody as sitting there and calling Trump supporters stupid and making fun of them. I mean, that's what my whole TikTok is based on. And when Trump goes away, I'm probably going to just cancel my account. But what am I going to laugh at anymore? I'm not going to.
Oh, there'll be plenty.
Oh, I know. I have full faith.
Every day I get up thinking there's not going to be anything, and it's just turned into a shit show every day.
But also, too, I'm going to take this. But real quick, I'm going to take this opportunity to say this. I think it's important that we hold the Democrat leadership to the same standards that we've been holding this freaking shit show to.
Yes.
So
that's what I'm going to use. That's what I'm going to do in the future, is making sure that Joe and everybody else fulfills their promises.
Yes, I agree with that, but we should also be aware of, and this is something that a lot of Republicans have used to point to things that didn't happen during the Obama administration and promises he had made.
They blocked them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Do not be supportive. Like go after them when they fail because it's their fault. Don't sit there and harangue them because.
Oh no, I would never do that.
The Republicans and Mitch McConnell blocked their efforts. And they couldn't get anything done because of obstruction, because there's only so much they can do in the face of obstruction short of getting rid of the filibuster, which likely won't happen. But I mean, when they can't do anything because of Republican obstructionism, we can't harass them because that's only going to deject them and bring down their energy and their willingness to actually push for anything, because they're going to sit there and feel like, well, if I can't do it, all of a sudden I'm the enemy. And it's not for lack of trying. It's because I'm up against this wall of assholes that are, and I keep breaking the swearing barrier.
All right, so you guys, we don't have too much time left, and I want to get to a couple more topics.
Yep.
Yes,
because, and I this has been great, and I really think that talking about these things and ways that we can heal our nation and ways that we can talk about Trump's base, even when they're white supremacists, and how to talk through this, because we're going to have to deal with this next 4 years. This will be part of our accountability as TikTokers, as political people. It will be part of our, what we will have to deal with. But I want to pivot right now and talk about New York and everyone cutting ties with Trump and what that means. And then going on, well, there's a couple of things I want to talk to. We're probably not going to get to all the clips, so I'll show a little bit right now. Oops.
The financial fallout for President Trump as he prepares to leave office as the only American president impeached twice in the wake of last week's Capitol riot. Banks and other partners are severing their ties with the Trump organization. New York City has canceled high-profile contracts. Rebecca Jarvis has the story. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, George. One by one, they fall. They are stepping away, backing down like dominoes here, from banks to Gulf organizations to online companies. They are all saying we are no longer in business with the Trump family.
This morning, New York City moving to terminate all its contracts with the Trump organization following last week's riot at the Capitol.
In light of this criminal act, the city of New York has determined that it is within our power to terminate all contracts with the Trump organization.
The city canceling contracts worth $17 million a year for 2 ice skating rinks in Central Park, a carousel, and a golf course. Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump organization, telling ABC News the city of New York has no legal right to end our contracts, and if they elect to proceed, they will owe the Trump organization over $30 million.
Boo-hoo.
Poor little baby.
I'm just going to say, as a New Yorker, good. Fuck Trump. New Yorkers hate Trump. Seriously.
I'm not sure I trust Eric Trump's judgment on that matter either.
But I worked there for 40 years, so I know everybody there hated him.
Yeah, no, de Blasio just got a fucking boost in the polls because New Yorkers
we don't like him
Trump
either.
for years. No.
So are we feeling right now that everyone just wants to, keep away from the Trump stink right now?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what's happening? Everyone
That's exactly what's happening. They're running like, rats on a sinking ship.
And the funny thing is he's now, with not paying Giuliani and with all the contracts that are being canceled, none of them are going to pay him. He's going to, his loans are coming due. He's not going to have the money to pay the attorneys he needs to win any of the cases he's going to be filing, and he's lawsuit happy, so he's going to bury himself.
Sorry.
So I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
You know, I think it's clear that the Trump organization and Trump is going to be done. I put a tweet out that I said I don't think Trump or his family should be allowed to do business in the United States ever again.
I don't either.
Agreed.
But all of them are fleeing to Florida, and only because in Florida, if you're homestead exempt, no one can attach your house or personal property and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and if they get indicted and they're in Florida, that Republican governor will not extradite them to New York. I can guarantee you.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. They've also, and I know you're right, Amanda. I just wonder. They've also said that anything over 22 days or something, he can't stay on the Mar-a-Lago thing. I'm sure they'll find some stupid way around it.
Well, but it's 3 miles. Mar-a-Lago is 3 miles from my place. Okay. And when Trump signed that agreement with Palm Beach County, or the city of Palm Beach, they don't play. They will get him. Okay. But
Mar-a-Lago is probably going to get repossessed anyway.
Well, it can't get repossessed because of the members. It was paid off, all that loan, but he was about to lose it when he got that agreement with Palm Beach to allow it to be turned into a club. He didn't pay but $10 million from Mar-a-Lago.
Wow.
And but nobody wanted it. It was a white elephant. Marjorie Merriweather Post gave it to the United States government to use it as a winter White House, and the government, it costs so much to keep it up that they was like, you can have it back. And Dana Merrill, her daughter, was like, I don't want the darn place.
Wow.
So it was like a fire sale.
I think he's going to be out of Mar-a-Lago soon too. The way things are going, he's going to be out of money. He's going to be in debt. And he's
going to be divorced.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's going to divorce him as probably file papers on the 22nd.
Probably already gone.
I've been saying this. What do you think? I'm sure Melania is going to have some kind of gag order, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But she's going to need money herself. So eventually the tea is going to spill. And she is going to
coming.
Well,
she's going to get a ghostwriter.
No, she'll have a ghostwriter and she'll tell some stories. I cannot wait.
Okay, let me ask Amanda and Maggie. Let me ask you this: her one friend, ex-friend, whatever, wrote that book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you what I personally felt.
I think you're right.
There you go. Amanda knows exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. She got part of it.
Yep.
Because if she wasn't involved in it, they would sue her from here to yonder.
Thank you.
And having those tapes of her, who cares about the fucking Christmas?
Who cares about Christmas?
Don't you know? Like you wouldn't see me going. Now, would you say that again a little louder?
Louder.
Oh my God, I just had a great idea. Somebody needs to make an ugly Christmas sweater that says, "Who the fuck cares about Christmas?"
Christmas.
That would be cute.
Oh my God. No, guys, we should do it and put it on Amazon. You know how many that would sell?
Let's do it. Let's do it and give all the money
Where's
to
Murphy?
some awesome charity.
I'm going to call old man Murphy after this and have him
Yeah, we already missed.
I get out of deck right here. Here you go.
And Indy, I've always wanted to meet you, honey, because you're from Kentucky. My grandmother was from Kentucky.
Ooh.
Yes, and I'm so excited to meet you too.
Oh,
You were one of the very first accounts I started following. So.
Crazy person that you started following.
All right, you guys, we have about time to do maybe one more clip and talk about one more topic before we have to go. Do we want to talk about? Well, do we want to talk? There's a couple we didn't get to. I'm always over prepared, but do we want to talk about Trump leaving office and what's happening, or do we want to
save that till next week?
Well, next week, the next show will be after inauguration.
No, he'll be gone.
Yes.
Well, but then the other topic I was going to talk about is issues with inauguration and the fear of what's going to be happening.
Can I start? Can I start?
Of course,
yes. Go ahead.
Okay. And the only reason is because we talked about this last night on our podcast. Nikki's been saying this for 2 months and more so the last few weeks, is that we needed to do a completely virtual inauguration, and more important that that the top leadership needs to be in separate locations. Like Kamala needs to be somewhere else getting sworn in. Joe needs to be somewhere else getting sworn in. You know, Nancy needs to be somewhere else. Like with everything going on, and honestly, it really doesn't have much to do with COVID. That's just an added bonus of not gathering in large groups, right? But really, with all the threats we've had after the 6th, I think there's more than enough justification to shift the inauguration.
They have to separate them. Like when you have the State of the Union address, they always have a couple of them in a undisclosed location in case the Capitol were to be bombed or something. Then.
Yeah. I think we need to take unprecedented precaution.
I think you're right, but again, I mean they're trying. Biden's trying to get us back to normalcy, and so I don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna push ahead with it. Unfortunately, I agree with you. I think it should happen.
He won't have a choice. The Secret Service, if there's a threat, they pick you up and take you out.
Yeah. Which that means one more question: why would Donald Trump not run out of D.C. during the insurrection? Like, why was he not evacuated?
Because he was in on it.
Exactly.
He was hiding in the White House.
He was mad that all of his base looked terrible, and he was stomping around the White House talking about how ugly they were.
This is my issue. Here's my issue. I'm mad that Ryan's not wearing an Arizona hat.
Oh, I can fix that.
I wore this for
I
you.
got really excited, Dave, when you said U of A, and I thought, Alabama?
There we go.
Alabama?
There we go.
Hey, all right. Wardrobe change.
Yep, we're good.
Bear down.
It wasn't as seamless as Patty's wardrobe changes, but
well, you wouldn't want me to change my wardrobe.
Sadia, it looked like you wanted to say something. God.
Hey, Sadia.
I'm gonna say hi, Amanda. I left I think I left like 20 messages on one of your videos by accident. Just kept reposting the same thing, and
hey, so it just helps.
That's right. I was just going to say, the reason I agree with what Nikki and Ryan are saying, while I do want it to go back to some normalcy, is when Trump was speaking, those are his people, and he was behind bulletproof glass. Those are his people. That's a good idea for him to protect himself. Could you imagine if it's Biden and that? I don't care how many security guards are there. I don't have faith in after seeing what happened last Wednesday. If you can't protect our president-elect, I don't know.
They're closing everything. They're closing down
They've already done it.
Yeah, they've closed it all down. Nobody's getting in. Nobody's coming to the inauguration except for
somebody could be living. Some of them darn congressmen would do it.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
That old
Boobert is there with her Glock and
Bobert, whatever. Bobert.
Yeah. Oh no, I call her Boobert.
Boobert.
We were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
that's
an actual decision I made.
There was so much inside job with this. I mean, we know this now. That
I wouldn't go nowhere near that place.
It's scary to think who is in Congress right now and who was in on the insurrection last week.
Yeah.
And Abe said it. We will probably never know the true details.
Yes, we will, because they will have every bit of that on tape, where they ushered those people through the Capitol.
Abe, you're on mute.
Abe, unmute.
Am I on mute?
Abe, you're on mute. You silenced yourself, Abe. You're muted.
You're on mute. You're on mute. Abe, now
he's muted.
They will have every bit of that on videotape, and I guarantee you they've already looked at it.
I don't know what's going on.
I agree. I don't think it's going to be like the Kennedy assassination where we're never going to know. I think we're going to have a pretty darn good idea.
Too much social media now.
I think unfortunately there's going to be a lot of things with this administration we're not going to know, just because they're going to be burning papers on the way out. I mean, they're going to do everything they can to cover their tracks, because they know damn well that they're so. They've gone so far to pale with
like a Pope enclave.
Hey, darling, I guarantee you somebody.
We will know certain things for sure, but there will still be things that I think we will never know.
Yeah, no, they haven't. They're not abiding by the presidential records.
Absolutely,
there's all kinds of stuff we don't know.
I'm with Dave though. I think they're going to be burning so much stuff that it's going to look like the Pope conclave coming out of the White House.
Yeah, they're deleting hard drives and everything.
Color smoke. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're
but I
deleting hard drives. They're
guarantee
trashing.
somebody has it on a zip drive somewhere so they can make some money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what we're gonna have to rely on
learn-
is the one good guy who's taking backups, like the person who downloaded all of Parler. Like we're gonna need somebody who actually steps up, who's a whistleblower.
I love that. They've
Says,
got
here's a zip
20
drive of all this shit that this administration deleted for the record. And then they hand it off to the Washington Post.
I just have not
So-
had the opportunity to say it yet, but Maggie, you look fabulous tonight.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. You're too sweet to me. So, we're pretty much out of time, guys. But
trying to talk.
Hey,
Abe,
Tom,
you
get out of
yourself.
mute.
Unmute yourself.
I did. It's weird.
You're good. We can hear you.
Okay.
hear you.
I
Don't
just
touch
want to
anything.
say that I don't think there's going to be any violence on the 20th. But I was listening to the daily podcast, and what they're afraid of is that they're going to actually play the long game. And while everyone's in town trying to, protect the White House, they're going to do something else. And that's what my fear is.
I really think that the violence is more going to happen in the state capitals.
I do too.
That's where we're going to see the big push on Inauguration Day. Just for example, Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky, he has already. What? Andy's a Democrat.
I said they hate him, not I
yes,
hate
they.
him.
Okay, good, Amanda. I was like, I love you, Amanda. Please don't say nothing bad about Daddy Andy.
I met his daddy.
I loved his daddy too, but now Andy's just the best. He has already closed down Capitol grounds, not just Inauguration Day, but for this weekend too, and that's in Frankfurt. He's already sent some National Guard troops to Washington, already has some stationed in Frankfurt. He's ready. And honestly, I really think that him and Gretchen Whitmer, in my fantasy, are best friends. And they talk to each other on the phone every night.
She's the one that I wouldn't want to be in her house. They hate her.
Yeah.
They do.
Oh, no. I don't know why she didn't want a cabinet
Maggie?
post. I'd be getting the hell out of Michigan.
Can I just steal the mic for like 10 seconds? I just want to say
You can stay as long as you want. If you want to keep going, we can keep going. No worries.
we've been saying all these traitors' names, and I just want to take a second on our platform to say the gentleman, the guard who led everybody away from the House floor.
Yes, he was fabulous.
Eugene Goodman is his name. And I've been pushing for a few days now. We've seen the the Presidential Medal of Freedom given to some, real winners the last few days. And I think that if we're going to give that medal to anybody, it needs to be to somebody like him. Put some dignity back into that medal and give it to somebody that deserves it.
And he saved Pence's life.
Yep.
They were like less than 20 feet from where Pence's room was. When
what really messed up part about this is, yes, he deserves all the accolades. He deserves the Medal of Freedom. The sad thing is he doesn't want it. He doesn't want the attention because now they're after him.
Yeah,
now he's there for himself and his family, all for doing his fucking job.
While we're on the topic of the Medal of Freedom, can I just put my nomination in for speaker?
For who?
Oh, yes.
Medal of Freedom.
Yeah,
hands down. I'm upset that she didn't take on the DNC.
No, she wouldn't want it.
But she would. No, I don't think so. Right? But what she did in Georgia, I know we're getting off topic.
Oh, yeah. No,
but I just think what she got in Georgia, if she did 2 other states between now and 2022, we wouldn't have to worry about all these things that we're worrying about at the start of this conversation.
Yeah, but she's gonna win the big battle, the big war when she runs against Kent for governor of Georgia because he screwed her out of it the last time, and she's gonna have the bye, baby.
I think, and on top of them voting, I know it was close and them putting the senators in, but I think she's going to nail it this time, and she's more than proven to the people. She's more than proven to the people of Georgia that she deserves the job and that she'll do great things with it.
Well, I think that's what one of the things is going to help is with Trump not on the ballot, it's going to depress turnout. And they got him. He was able to get Georgia going, and Republicans were able to get Georgia going after all that happened. But I think going forward, it's going to be a lot tougher with him out of the White House, and with now you're going to have all this reckoning coming back to these people saying, because when they run in the midterms, they're going to be able to say, look, this guy specifically supported Trump till Trump turned on him. You're not dealing with a profiling courage. You're dealing with a craven sycophant who's not looking out for the best interests of Georgia.
But now that Black people in Georgia know that they control the state, they're never going to let it go again.
I hope so.
Never.
Hopefully not.
And every day, the African American population grows in Georgia.
Yep.
So, honey, Georgia is blue forever until
you need to be careful because they're still trying to implement more voter suppression in Georgia, and the fact that he's still he's still the governor and the Secretary of State is still a staunch Republican who believes in voter suppression. I mean, it's not something that's
as long as everybody's watching, it's never going to happen because they go to court just like that now.
Wouldn't Stacey Abrams be more effective if she went into the administration in a role that deals with voter suppression, like on the national scale? I mean, she has a system that is so amazing that made her who she is. If you look at her history, she has like a system in place that should not be only used in Georgia.
I would agree with that, but the problem with that is, one, all 50 states have their own individual mechanisms for voting and rules for voting. You need another civil rights or voting rights act, which they're working on with John Lewis right now. Stacey Abrams is not going to be able to push that. And once that voting rights act, or the new John Lewis voting rights act, if it gets through, which hopefully it should, if that gets through, it's not going to it's not going to be for Stacey Abrams to implement and enforce. That's going to be part of the DOJ under Merrick Garland. It's going to be incumbent on people like Stacey Abrams and Stacey Abrams to enforce voting, fair voting rights for their state in all 50 states.
The best place for her is governor of Georgia.
Yes, exactly. And it's in every state. You need somebody like Stacey Abrams for every state. Having her on a national level isn't gonna be able to affect that much because of the simple fact that every state runs their own election, which is why Trump wasn't able to steal the election, because he couldn't sit there and get every single one of those states to overturn what they had already certified, because the federal government does not have control over the states.
Yep.
I have one other thought that I really think that something's going to have to be done. I mean, right now, Pence is the most hated person in the Republican Party. I mean, Trump's people thinks he, gave the election away, and they're after him. Normally, when a vice president leaves office, they get Secret Service protection for 3 weeks. Honey, he's going to have it for life because they're going to kill him.
Pence,
Pence.
Well, when they take away Trump's Secret Service, maybe they should give it to Pence as a parting gift.
Well, I was hoping that Trump would resign and then Pence would be president for a day or two, and then he'd be eligible for it for life.
He won't resign for two reasons. One, he thinks he can, that would have been the smart play. If he had resigned before he had started this whole thing on the 6th, or all this shit happened on the 6th, he could have gotten out. He could have probably gotten Pence to pardon him. Pence likely wouldn't pardon him at this point.
He wouldn't touch him with his 10-foot pole.
He doesn't want to leave because he knows he's planning to pardon himself.
It's not going to do him any good.
It's not going to do him any good because the courts are going to hammer him for it, because then they'll finally actually bring into question the actual extent of the pardon power, which, because of the whole thing of we're not going to be ruled by a king that has unlimited authority, that's going to fail. But at this point, I don't think Pence would pardon him. He may. I mean, Pence has been so fucking such a lapdog for him time and time again that I wouldn't be surprised. But I would hope Pence, for his own sake, wouldn't. But at the same time, Pence might, thinking, well, I'm going to need Secret Service protection, so if I can just be president for a couple of days, that makes it affirmative, and then I have it for life, which, yes, you're probably right, he's going to need.
I think that Biden will give it to him because he knows that even though he was a lapdog for Trump and everything, everybody knows in the end he did the right thing.
Yeah.
Not that he could have done anything different, but
it's not that he wanted to do the right thing. He didn't really have a choice. But
he did want to do the right thing, because on his way to the Capitol is when Trump told him, "You either be a patriot or a pussy," and that.
But I think
he was done with him.
I think it was also not just so much an issue because he went along with Trump for so many things that completely flew in the face of what his supposed beliefs are. I think it was more of an issue.
He didn't have any power to do anything differently. Anyway.
See, that's the thing is I think he accepted and acknowledged that he didn't have the power to really do anything, and so he was going to try and instead of trying to do something that would have gotten him in even more trouble because Trump probably wouldn't have pardoned him, and. I mean, then he's himself is guilty of an attempted insurrection. So, I mean, this wasn't so much him doing the right thing, so much of him realizing he couldn't do anything else and trying to save his own ass. But in saving his own ass is on the line. I don't think he accepted or believed that they would turn on him that hard and that they'd be out in the
Oh, I think he did.
Saying hang Mike Pence. So.
And he did speak with Kamala today.
Yep.
He called her.
Yep.
To say what?
Okay, so you guys, we are.
Say that he would help her.
Yeah, he told her he would help her all he could.
Yeah, congratulated her.
What?
So you guys, we're close to the end of the show.
15
I wanted to show one. We are 15 minutes past, but you guys, it's been a great conversation. It's been really awesome. And thank you all for coming. I don't know if you want to watch one more clip or you just want to go out. I've got two. Legos. Well, I've got two, and I want you guys to, what would you rather talk about? I have a clip of our president-elect, speaking about coronavirus yesterday. And I also have a clip about Trump leaving office and him packing up and fuming.
Trump leaving office.
Yeah,
leaving office.
We're always going to want to talk about Trump, but I'm just saying.
And then I will just say, I do want to just put it out there that we are close to 400,000 deaths from coronavirus right now in our country.
Over 2 million worldwide.
40,000 so far. January, first half of January, 40,000 deaths. 43,000.
So it's been a crazy year when COVID is now a side note in our political conversation. So it's real.
Wouldn't be if Republican politicians would just acknowledge the science they believe. They all believe in the science. They just do it to placate their voters.
Well, I'm excited for the adults to be in office next week. So here we go. Let's talk about Trump leaving office.
With only 6 days left in office, sources say President Trump is angry and isolated after making history as the first U.S. president to be impeached twice.
No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
Sources tell CNN Trump relented and agreed to film this video after being pressured by advisors who were worried about the backlash he could face.
I want to be very clear. I unequivocally condemn the violence that we saw last week.
Trump didn't mention his role in stoking the attacks or his impeachment, though privately he's fuming at nearly everyone. His latest targets include House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy after he criticized Trump's conduct.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters. He should have immediately denounced the mob when he saw what was unfolding.
McCarthy isn't alone. Trump is also feuding with his longtime attorney, Rudy Giuliani, for not doing enough to stave off a second impeachment and has told staff to stop paying his legal fees, though officials weren't sure if Trump was serious. As the president stews behind closed doors with nothing on his public schedule, preparations for next week's inauguration were underway as 2021 Biden-Harris inauguration signs were hung in front of the White House and visible from the residence. Moving trucks were spotted on the White House grounds today as the president's staff cleaned out their desks and prepared to leave office.
Can we just leave it at that? That was so beautiful.
Hold on. I just got a text from a friend of mine. I just want to, yeah. So this is the new conspiracy theory going around. This is on a WordPress site,
another one?
The Marshall Report. Apparently they now believe that 250,000 Chinese troops are surrounding us on the Canadian border, and there's 75,000 on the Mexican border.
That was actually put out about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this just came up in an article that a friend of mine sent me.
Yeah,
it
was put out
yesterday.
In fact, it was on Parler.
Oh God! All right, you guys. So
Sorry.
Donald Trump is leaving. He's fuming. And I want to leave this. I want to leave this on a positive note because
Donald Trump is leaving. That's all you have to say. That's his point.
Exactly. Well, I've been trying to post as much positive as I can because it's been pretty bad.
Well, Franklin Graham pissed me off today, and I did a rant.
Well, as we should rant when we need to. But I do feel that there are some positive things coming forward. And nothing makes me more happy than knowing that Donald Trump is fuming in the White House right now and stomping around like a little baby. And I think we all agree with that.
And they're not just packing up their desks. They're taking mementos.
Oh,
they're just taking anything not fucking nailed down. They're just
I saw them taking the bust of Abraham Lincoln out. Like, what were they doing?
But the best thing was
okay. Why don't they have to return that?
Well, it could be his own personal bust.
No,
you know, until you don't know until. Well, I don't think they would let him go out.
Let's be honest. Trump doesn't have a
Abraham Lincoln was until he got into the White House.
I mean, it could have been a $3.99 one from the home store. Who knows?
No, and that's just one more thing. That is a federal crime to steal federal property from a federal building, and it's one more thing that America.
We don't know if it was whatever.
Let's just say one thing that's unrelated to this that is really important. It's something that I want to try to promote as much as I can. I feel like we need to have one website for everyone that has been arrested or part of this. We need one website where we can all go for the next year, however, to see who was arrested, what their status was, what their term is. Because just hearing it on the news that this year and this, it can't go away. We have to be able to, as citizens, make sure that these people are held to account.
I want to laugh. I'm tired of Trump.
I'm just putting it out to you guys to.
I'm going back to work.
I like that. All right, you guys. So let's go around, and I want everyone to plug their page, say your name again, and thank you again so much for coming to this awesome edition of Friday Night Highlights. My name is Mermaidmama Maggie, and I am happy and so elated to host this event with you guys. Let's start with Ryan Shead.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks again for having me. It's always great to be on here with all you guys. I always have such a good time.
I love it.
My name is Ryan Shead. You can find me on TikTok and Twitter are my two biggest platforms. But if you would help me on YouTube and follow me, that'd be great. I'm still trying to get to 1,000. I'm almost to 100 on TikTok. So if you don't already follow me, please do. Go follow all these other great, amazing people. And with that, I'll kick it to the next person.
All right, let's go. Amanda Henn.
Hi, everybody. Amanda Henn, also known as Nadine is Woke. On I don't know which ones I'm on. Bert does Twitter. I don't even know how to get on Twitter, but I do politics and all kind of crazy crap. But I'm ready to go back to work. But I wanted to tell one little thing about white privilege. I saw it when I was 5 years old, y'all. The lady that took care of me, she took me to Rome, Georgia to buy shoes or something. And she sent me into a restaurant. They would not let her go in. And I had to sit at a window seat so she could watch me eat lunch. So that told me when I was little bitty what it was like.
Wow.
I love all y'all.
We love you, Amanda, and I'm so glad you were able to come on. We were going to have another guest, but
I had on my gown and I put on this jacket.
Well, you know what, Amanda, the fact that you could come in on such short notice, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. I love you more than my luggage.
I love you too, my Louis Vuitton
Hey,
luggage.
I'm almost done. Give me about 5 to 10 minutes.
All right. Next, we've got Abe from Won't Be Silent.
Hi, you guys. Thank you for inviting me. I do enjoy this, I have to say. My thing is just about being what the name is. Won't be silent about whatever it is that we must all speak up about. And just because Biden's in the White House doesn't mean our job of speaking out is done. I actually think it's just begun. And have a great weekend, everybody.
Abe, I'll be out there.
Abe, I love you so much. All right, next we've got Sadia M.
Thank you, Maggie, Dave, Indy, Abe, Amanda, Ryan, and Bert, wherever you are. Always love catching up with all of you because it just makes me, I don't know, just so it's just great. love you too. And yeah, I'm mostly on TikTok for all my political commentary, Sadia _____M. And thank you guys again for more things for me to think about, but like in a very more productive way at the end of the week.
Awesome. I love you so much.
I'm going to say one quick thing. This makes me feel very safe. The fact that we've been able to create this kind of unexpected community of like minds really makes me feel safe. Yeah. And thank you for that.
Or mindless.
No, honestly, these shows have been phenomenal, and every time I learn so much from each and every one of you, and it warms my soul. All right, next we've got NDP Jones 46.
Well, and before I jump in, I just wanted to second what Abe said, because like I've said earlier, I live in a very red conservative Christian area, and I am like a really tiny grain of blue sand in a great big huge beach of red. Yeah, and so I really felt very alone until I found TikTok. I all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's people out there that actually, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. But yes, I'm on TikTok. I'm NDP Jones 46. I do What the Fuck News, and I like to point at things above my head and make snarky jokes like calling her Boobert instead of Bobert. And I do also focus quite a bit on Kentucky politics, just because, you know, I've got Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul, but and Daniel Cameron, but the bright shining star is Andy Bashir. So we're all behind Andy. So, but yes, I just love all of you guys. I follow all of you, and I'm just so grateful that Mermags has invited me to be a part of this community.
I'm so glad you were here.
I
I've
love
always
you.
wanted to
love
meet
you.
you.
Thank you.
She is good people for sure.
Yeah.
All right, and Dave D Comedy.
Dave D Comedy. It's my name on TikTok. I've been trying to do Instagram, and I need to set up Twitter, which will probably be Dave D Events. I'm the number 3 twerker on TikTok.
Who beat you?
It was a stiff competition.
It was like Charlie D'Amelio and like
Charlie
Bella.
D'Amelio. She knows what she did. We're not talking.
Oh,
and
it was an 8-year-old girl.
Hey, that girl was on steroids. I don't care if she was 8. It wasn't fair. She had a butt lift too. Anyway,
Oh no.
Ryan, come back, baby.
You all right there?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Number 3 twerker.
I'm
afraid I'd throw a hip out.
I did that this morning getting out of bed. So
I never get out of bed. When you see this picture, it's hanging over my bed.
That's what I aspire to. I'm Dave D Comedy. I got on to do comedy because I'm actually a legit.
Well, me too.
A legit touring stand-up comic, but
it all went to hell.
2020 happened, so welcome to the world. But yeah, most of it's I do political TikTok satire comedy and the like, and I do a really good Joker laugh.
Yes.
And I don't fake it. It's real. And
it seems so effortless. Like that would tear my throat up.
It's improved my singing voice actually.
Then I have a record coming out.
But yeah, that's where I am, and I'm trying to do the Twitter and the I hate social media. I really do. TikTok was just a way for me to vent since I couldn't do it on stage. So
well, thank you guys all for coming. You are phenomenal TikTokers.
Thank you for having me.
Even more phenomenal people, and I'm so grateful to be able to call you guys my friends.
Me too.
And thank you so much. Again, I am Maggie Reed, Mermaidmama Maggie on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Follow me if you like. All right. And with that, I am going to leave on a very positive note, because the next time that Friday Night Highlights will appear, we will have a new president, baby.
Yay!
I've been waiting to hear that.
I can't even. We're going to have a
And
new
it's
president.
thanks to TikTok. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So thank you guys for coming. And with that, I'm going to play our last clip. And it's all about ushering in a new era. So everybody wave goodbye. See ya.
Bye.